Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 18. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Elise.
Happy New Year. Can you believe it? We're almost in mid-Feb now. It's amazing. Good
Yes,
to see
I,
everybody.
I, I know. It's crazy. Mid Feb, you said already? Your mind is already in Feb. Did you say Feb or is that me? The year
Oh
is
dear.
so fast. We're already in February. So the episode today is very important. We think we're going to provide so much value because I don't know if you realize there's a lot of people that are failing on their goal pretty quickly. So the episode title is Why Most Goal Fail by February and how elite leaders think into results instead of failing back into their old patterns. So yeah, let's go right in. What's happening early on in January, and what are the stats around failing on your goal? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I remember someone telling me that um, probably about 8% of New Year's resolutions actually kind of stick for the entire year. And for me, that's frightening, right? So many people have so much energy and excitement, and a new year gives you kind of new hope, right? And and I wish that more people could s- stick to their goals and actually achieve what they really set out to do. So I think today we want to talk about what does it take for a goal to stick, and how do we go around really aiming high so that we can make those things happen and create lasting change, because it's not just about having a good idea and doing things for a few weeks. It's about how do we make constant change, and how do we have things that stick so that we really can change where we're going.
Absolutely, and there's another stats also that, and you're right, that it's between 8 and 12%. They say so many people are converging into the same statistics. So 8 to 9 or 9 to 12% of the people are keeping their New Year's resolution. So it's almost like should we do it? Should we even do it? Because that's a very small percentage, and I think we'll share how, like you said, we can create lasting results. And the other stat that's interesting is that 43% of the people they're expecting to give up on their goals by February. We're already expecting. So why would you even that's why I said why should we even do it? So one of the things that I've read yesterday and I shared with you, and we were just so what's the word? I don't want to say impressed, but I was shocked to see how we are being distracted by technology. And I think that's one of the reason why it actually contributes of us failing at our goal. So there's that. First, let's talk about how we are being distracted. Then I think we'll talk about first how do we set the goal, kind of a little bit of a reminder on that, and what's in the way for us to achieve it. And obviously, I think we can already know that we have to reduce distractions. We have to reduce distractions and be more focused. So I'll share some of the slides quickly. And if you want to comment on them, please feel free, Elise. So first one, there's a couple of different slides, but it's just to show and making sure that you understand how crazy that is. I don't know if it's too small, but they say the average knowledge worker switches task 1,200 times a day. That's one thing. Knowledge workers are interrupted by notifications, like phone, on the computer, all of that, every 6 minutes. And 62% of knowledge workers feel digital device make it harder to focus. So if we just stop here, do we agree with this? Do we see that this is a reality? Other stats, and I'll flip on different slides. I'm actually going too fast, but here's another one. And that's by Flow Research Collective. We already talked about it at the end of the year, but there's only 2.3 hours of work per day, really, on average, for average knowledge worker. Half a day is being duplicated. We have 36 email checkup, 56 disruptions, 36 hours of unnecessary meeting, all of these things. It's crazy. I'll stop just for a moment.
Mm.
Also, there's another stat. The stat is that we're looking at our phone every 6 to 8 minutes, and that we're actually being on our phone every 10 to 12 minutes, and that we have 150 interruptions like every day just with the phone.
Mm.
So imagine if we can get rid of all of that, at least a
Yeah.
good portion of it.
It's fascinating for me because it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. So, managing teams and trying to like serve clients, we often feel like we need to be available and plugged in. And, every time a Teams meeting or an email comes in that you must respond immediately. And I've always kind of been like, oh, I'll multitask and I'll kind of make it happen. And those stats that you shared are so like in your face that it proves that it doesn't work, right? I mean, there's no way we can go around saying, oh, don't worry, I can manage it, and I've seen that, noticed that recently, that if I'm working in the evenings and I'm trying to draft an email that you have to concentrate on, and my kids are here and I must think about cooking or I must do other things and there's a phone call, there is no way I'm producing quality work. And a few nights ago, I kind of just like stopped and I thought, like, what am I doing? I felt like I was failing at everything at that time because I was not doing good work. I was not being a good mom. I was not being present. Like everything was going badly in that moment. And it's horrible to kind of realize that. But I think at that moment, I was like to this point and no more. Sure, many of us have flexibility and you can work from home or you want to respond to something if it's urgent in the evenings. But for me, a huge topic for this year is focus. That's in many ways, right? Focus on what I'm putting my energy into, but also when I'm working, how am I using my time and attention at that moment? And I've even gotten to things like calendar blocking or blocking certain times. Like in the morning, can I do my most focused work? I've got my least distractions and I'm going to focus on doing quality work in the morning. In the afternoons, am I doing calls or client one-on-ones, etc.? But those are almost things that I used to avoid because I was like, oh, I like flexibility and I'm going to kind of do what works for me. And I almost feel like I'm going to do the opposite this year in terms of how do I help my brain focus on social media content or drafting things that are really important that I really need to get into. Like you can't really apply yourself to something that you need to think about if you only give yourself 10 minutes between like phone calls or checking your email on your phone or seeing the Instagram notification. So I think that we need deep work and focus, and let's understand what will give us the best quality, and give us the best outcomes. So for me, the word focus is something really important that'll help me definitely kind of achieve my goals. And I think from the stats that you've shared, clearly focus is the way to go if we want to make the best use of our time.
Absolutely, and there's even more stats I'll share. So I think we're gonna nail the point that you must understand how destructive technology could be. And I'm not saying that this technology is not good. It's extremely good when it's done intentionally, in a focused way. So, I mean, for me, I shared with you before the live that I have actually decided to block myself from social media because I realized, I have to say, I was addicted. And it's almost like you get to a sober place where yeah, I have a problem, I need to fix this. And so it's either with my full will I try to do it, and I've tried, and it's almost like you have the candy, you want to eat the candy, or you remove the candy and then there's no candy. so the way to remove it for me was this app called Opal, and it's brilliant because they start by asking you, so how much time will you spend on your phone, and they can actually go get that stats for you. So
Yeah,
after
your
I've
phone
done it,
checks it, right?
the what, sorry?
Our phones track it, so it's not like we
Yeah,
have to. Because I
exactly.
think often we kind of convince ourselves, oh, I'm probably only on for like 10 minutes a day, and then you see the stats and you go, oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
is it possible? Because it all adds up.
Exactly. I think I think I was quite honest because I saw the screen recording, and at the end, I think it adjusted to the reality. So I feel that if people are actually lying, they're going to, no, it's not 3 hours, it's 6 or 8 or whatever it is. So the stats I had, and I love how they started, they said, the bad news is that you'll spend 136 days on your phone this year, meaning that you're on track to spend 26 years of your life looking down at your phone. Yep, you read that right. And so you're just realizing, imagine like you'd be doing a jail time, and I've done that stats actually driving one day. It's like 1 year, I think I was spending a full month in my car, and I realized I gotta move. Like, this is stupid. This is not how I want to use my life. And so I was looking at 26 years. That's the sentence of my jail time. And I would just be, what am I doing during that 26 years? That's my life. I think like someone in jail would have a better life than me. Like 26 years just looking at your phone. Like, at least they don't probably even have their phone or something. I don't know. But so the good news is that apparently the app can help me save 8 years plus of my life to use it for other things that matter. So that's just to show when we can measure the impact, it's even more powerful. So here are, and then I want to go back quickly to what you said, when you felt like scattered and you felt that you failed at everything. I think the theme for 2026 is definitely kind of saying no to what doesn't matter. And when we say no to some things, we open up and we're saying yes to what really matters. And then we have to ask ourselves, and that maybe that's inner work, but why am I saying yes to everything? Is that a fear of missing out? And why do I feel that I'm missing out? Like, we can go deep on that road, but that's, you can call a coach or a therapist for this, but the point is that by saying no, you're going to say yes to what matters. And then I like the fact when you talked about calendar blocking, doing the calendar block, if you're doing it in the morning for deep work, this is perfect because this is where the cognitive load is at the lowest. You haven't even put anything yet. So this is the time to go deep into what you want to accomplish, like working on the rock, and then you can focus on the pebbles, and then you can focus on the sand. And I know if I look at myself, the sand is quite interesting because it seems easy, right? Like, I can just spend some time on the sand, but then you realize, I haven't done the rock yet, and now time is running. And so what happened is that now that's why we're elongating our days into, I'll work in the evening, working on a rock, and maybe working on the rock on the weekends, because now I'll be relaxed. But it's at one point you realize this is not the type of life I want to live, and I think we came to the same conclusion. And I know you have kids. I don't have it yet, but the point is you gotta spend time with the loved ones. You gotta do the things that matter. And so we come to the conclusion to say I have to remove distractions. So here are, lastly, some other stats before we give you how you can.
Just to drive it home, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Just making sure that you get it. Yeah, maybe it's small, so I'll read it. But they say regular internet use reduced deep reading. It's affecting our reading ability by 40%. That's not a small number. Information overload causes significant stress for 30% of knowledge workers. So 30% of you are actually stressed and overloaded by information. We know that, right? Those that multitask, and I have a little exercise on this, are multitask a lot, are 37% worse on formal test of multitasking. So for multitasking makes you worse. That's the point. The mere presence, that one actually surprised me. The mere presence of a smartphone, not necessarily yours actually, it could be someone else, reduces your cognitive capacity by 40%. So you can be eating, putting your phone next to you, you're stressing people around. So I decided, and I've done that, even if it's flipped on the other side, because I'm apparently respecting the time of the person. How about you just put it, like, not even, like, put it in your purse, put it in your car. Mm-hmm. Don't even have it on the counter or on the table. People will actually feel more relaxed. 50% believe that they're addicted to phone. I was addicted. I'm addicted, but I'm working on it. So that was, at least there's one of us every two people. Excessive screen use reduce gray matter in brain areas for control and decision making. So it's not helping your decision making. What else? Close to 100 notifications a day. We already talked about that. Each digital, that's so important. Each digital interruption costs 25 minutes to fully regain focus. That's switching task. 25 minutes. And it's also because the brain needs to kind of give back a jolt of energy to go to the task. So if you were deeply thinking about something, like you said, you're being interrupted. Now your brain has to go back to that and give a surge of energy. So imagine how many times your brain is being depleted. every time you do the switch, and it takes 25 minutes to go back to where you were.
That's
So
amazing because I think often we think, oh, let me just quickly get this off my plate, then it's done. But it's not actually the time that new task takes. It's what you're saying now. It's how to get your mind back to where you were. And it's that loss of time that I think we often don't like take into account. So if we agree that focus is important and we
can
want
we
to,
agree on that?
we, I think we've got that one. How do we get focused? And as you said, I think it's about saying yes to certain things, but it's also saying no. And for me, it goes very much back to what is the goal? What are you trying to achieve? And then, as we were talking about who sticks with their goals, what is that desire? Like, how badly do you want this? And I think that's a really important part, especially if we think about New Year's resolutions, because I think almost people feel obliged that come, end of December, they're like, oh, everyone's going to ask me what's my New Year's resolution. I guess I want to get more fit. Firstly, that's very vague. But secondly, it would be nice to do many things, but how badly do you want it? Are you willing to go through the phase of creating a new habit, get uncomfortable, sacrifice certain things? If it is going to the gym, how many times are you going? How long are you going? What time are you going? Do you have someone that you're meeting at the gym to hold you accountable? All of those things make such a difference. And earlier you were saying, so often I think we create these goals of, I'm going to go to gym for an hour every day. And that sounds amazing. But then practically, things get busy and you get back into your routine and there are other things that happen. And then when you miss a few days, then you feel like a failure. So I think so often we want to try and have these incredible goals that are great to work towards. But I think often we should have interim goals that feel more achievable, because if you then commit to, I don't know, 45 minutes 3 times a week, at least if you miss a day, you go, oh, okay, well, I can still kind of make it up, right? And then you almost give yourself that encouragement that it is attainable and it's something that you can do. You could always work up to something more regular. But I think it's important for us to also have these interim goals or achievable goals, getting us to like the big number or the big thing that you're trying to achieve, just so that you kind of keep yourself motivated along the way.
Absolutely. I love it. And thank you for going back to the goal. How bad do you want it? What's the purpose of it? And specifically, for what purpose? Why do you want to do this? And if there's not enough traction, then we know already you're not going to be persistent. There's going to be a big challenge coming up and you're just going to decide that this is over. So thank you for saying that. And I'm seeing chunking it down is so important. That I say that I remember one of my clients was not even meditating, and now it's becoming his superpower. And he's actually going in the office before everyone else, and he says, he's a manager, he said, this is where I get all of my best ideas. And initially he was struggling to meditate, and I said, just make it easy. Like how I started, you don't need to know how, like just relax. I kind of explained a little bit about the science, and then do 5 minutes, put a timer. Like I that's how I started. I had the app Insight Timer, and it's a dong, that's it. Like it's a timer. And sometimes I felt, oh, you know what, I'm busy right now, so instead of 5, I'll do 3 or 1 or whatever it is. It's easy. Then, like you said, you feel good about yourself and you're building confidence to continue to do it, because everyone can find 2 minutes. Come on. And imagine 2 minutes every day, the impact at the end of the year. And also, most of the time, you'll increase that time because you enjoy it and you see the benefits in your life. So you'll say, hey, you know what, now I'm going to 10 minutes. And then you see the impact, and then you're able to do 5 all the time. So that day where you're busy, you're like, hey, well, I wanted to 10, but I'll reduce it to 5. At least I do my check and I've done my meditation. Regulating and being calm before we can actually be creative. That's one idea. So yeah, thank you for going back on the goal is very important. And then the thing is are we optimizing the right thing? Will you guys optimize the right goal this year? Is that really important? Because when we add so much, we're being distracted by the wrong things that leads us nowhere. So is this new task, new activities? I'm being And it could even be with relationships, by the way. Is this a right friend? Like, what is this friend bringing in my life? Do I have to always, like, do I feel depleted every time I meet this person? Or I'm gaining, this is a mutual exchange of information, of energy, of reciprocity, and then yes, you're in my life because you're contributing to my life. So now I think the next segment that we can talk about is the concept of living either from the outside or living from the inside. The reason I want to bring this up, actually now it shows mental faculties, here you go, is that when we set our goal for 2026, did we set our goals based on the past results, or did we set it based on what we know we can accomplish? And we've talked about it so many times. You're able to do the extraordinary. The point is you have to believe it. So that's one thing. And actually, for your goal setting and your intention, your resolutions, do you really feel you're able to do it? We can find the evidence that you're able to do it, but then have you made a committed decision really to accomplish this goal? So living from the outside is you're bound to failure. You're bound to feeling miserable, because the point is that, and I know that you also love that, Elise, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. There's a concept of planting the seed. And if we know that every seed that we plant in the soil doesn't care about if it's a seed of mango or if it's a seed of nightshade. Nightshade is poisonous, mango is great. Soil gets it, gives you back exactly what you planted. So what type of thoughts are you planting? Are you being influenced by what's happening on the outside, and then therefore you're thinking this way, and that's the seed you plant? Because if that's the seed you plant, this is exactly what you're going to get. Or I exclude everything that's happening on the outside. I'm not being influenced by my competitors, by the economy, I really go deep inside me and I'm asking, okay, so how can we be the best company regardless of what's happening? Like what are our values? What can I think and plant from the inside, living from the inside out instead of the outside in? That in itself is very important. Now I'll stop here because I can talk forever on this. I'm curious about what you're thinking.
So as you said, like the Strangest Secret is incredible. And what you were just talking about, the mind is like a garden. It's like the soil. Imagine, I always think of like a farmer, right? Imagine this beautiful, nutritious soil, and that is your mind. Your mind is the soil, and you get to choose what you plant every single day. And I think so frequently we feel like we're the victim of our thoughts and the victim of our minds, right? So many people tell me my mind is just always busy, and I always think about the negative things or bad things that happened today, or I'm worried about the future. And we can choose what to plant. You can choose the thoughts that you are getting emotionally involved with. And that is such an important thing for us to remember, because we are the farmer going to that soil and going, I am planting the seed. Is it the poison, the nightshade that you spoke of, or is it the corn or mango, whatever it is, right? Is it positive or is it negative? And you get to choose that. And as the farmer, right, what am I wanting to get out of this? What am I planting? And how do I want to make the best use of kind of the soil and the energy that I have, right? I mean, there's so much potential in it. And the soil is going to let whatever seed grow, right? So if you choose negative thoughts, you're going to get anxious, you're going to get, worried, there's going to be fear, potentially depression. We need to take control of our thoughts so that we then grow the seed that is going to be serving us. And again, I feel like so often we feel like these things happen to us. And once we realize that, it is our choice, like every day, every moment, you're looking at your two hands and you've got two seeds. You need to decide what you're planting. And only you can do that, right? Not your coach, not your parents, not your friends. Like no one can do that. You get to choose what you're planting. And every time you think the thought, you're watering it some more and you're giving it some sunlight for it to grow. And I think when we take ownership and control and responsibility for what we think and what we're kind of what we're harvesting, that's when you take control of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that because yesterday I had a session with an executive team, and we were talking about, that the fact that all events are neutral. And there's a reason why I say that, because, we all react in different ways. And so, I was talking to Detonio, that's his name, and, he said I'm impatient. And that's something that he wants to, and then to realize that, there's an event that occurs, and being impatient is you're implying that you're not able to do it at the time that you wanted, and that if you don't do it at the time that you wanted, you're frustrated, therefore you're impatient, you just want to get it done. And so, but the point is that this whatever event or situation, for him that's not fast enough, but for someone else that's fine, like there's no problem. So it's not the event itself, it's not what's on the outside itself that matters, it's really what the story you create with it and the thought that you planted. So if I'm planting the thought that, hey, if I'm not doing this on time, we're screwed, like the client's not buying, whatever it is. Now, of course, now I'm emotionally involved with this thought that makes me create some behaviors, and the results are completely different. And at the source of it, it was just a thought that I planted that I now, like you said, I had the choice between these two thoughts, which one is more useful, because I'm the one that created this thought. And now I think to enter into how to achieve our goal, the reason why I actually created this thought is because of the way I perceive the situation. And the way I perceive the situation is based on my own operating system, my own beliefs, which we call paradigm. This is why people at the beginning of the year, they have a resolution. They know they want to do it, but are not doing it. So there's a gap. It's called the knowing doing gap. So what's in the way of us to accomplish our goals? Well, like you said in the beginning, is this really a worthwhile goal? Is that something that I'm really excited about? And two, if deep down I believe it's not possible, you expect like the stats, 34% of the people expect they're not going to, well, guess what's going to happen? You're planting that seed, and your paradigm is saying it's not going to happen. So we got to change the way we think in order to change the crop. And that's also a concept I mentioned to the team, is that you have to really understand that if last year, for example, you didn't accomplish your goal, what type of thinking did you have? What type of thoughts or seed did you plant? So if you want to have a different result this year, you got to plant a different seed. And if that seed is different, that means what? That means your thinking is different. That means your paradigm is different. And by changing that, now you will be able to accomplish your goal. You can't accomplish your goal with the same level of thinking you had last year. Mm-hmm. So if people are still expecting that they will fail on their goals, well, that will make it not work. And now we also talked about how being focused is truly helping you to accomplish your goal and chunking it down. And the root cause of all that is really about our paradigms. I think that's something that we wanted to share with you guys, because when you change the way you're thinking, when you change the seed that you're planting inside, you're changing everything.
Mm-hmm. And as you were saying, so often our thinking is so affected by previous results or current thinking. And I think that there's a moment where you make a decision and you're like, this is going to be different. Have you made the decision that this year is going to be different? Are you going to commit to your goals? Are you going to do what it takes? Are you going to create the habits that are going to form this new paradigm that is going to support you in reaching those goals? And I think it's all about, are you actually committing to yourself? Have you made that decision that you're willing to do what it takes to get there? Because there is change required. As you said, if you already knew exactly how to do this, then you would have achieved that goal already. So a change needs to happen. And are you willing to do what it takes in order to get there?
Absolutely. And now we'll talk about some of the mental faculties. We won't go through all of them, but I think today the real focus was one called will. So you have all of these things that can help you achieve your goals. You can perceive things differently. So if you think that you're able to do it, you have a different perception of the situation, the challenge, and you're seeing that other people were able to achieve it. That's just one way, right? Using your reason, your memory, imagination, imagining a different scenarios in your head, and intuition. I think for today's focus was really will. Will is the capacity to exclude everything else in your consciousness and really attack or focus on one thing. And distraction is one way to remove so that your will is really focused on what matters. And in the will, I see the seed that you plant, that I'm not going to think and focus on the reasons why I can't. I'm going to focus on all the reasons why I can. And there's a great exercise that can be done with the team where you just do brainstorm. And I'm not interested about all the reasons we can't. We have already proven that. So we don't want that. We just want to have all the ideas that will show how we can. And then we can debate with fun which one is a good idea.
I love that exercise because, the quality of our life is basically linked to the quality of questions we ask. So we can either say, why do I never stick to my goals? Or why can't I get this done? Or why do I fail? Or you can say, why am I going to be successful this year? Or why am I ready to make this change? What am I doing around, creating the commitment that's required? And when you ask, like, our brains and our minds are problem-solving devices. It wants to give you an answer. It's just, what question am I asking? And I think that's why coaching is so powerful, because you get people that are asking questions that often we're not asking ourselves. But are you asking yourselves the question, why is this year different? How am I showing up for myself? Why is it important for me that this year I'm going to make this happen? And it's amazing how it almost seems a little bit awkward at first, and not everyone necessarily does journaling. That's something that is part of their routine. But just writing down a few of these questions and just giving yourself, even if it's just 5 minutes, put on some nice music and tell yourself, I'm going to write for these full 5 minutes. It's amazing what you come up with, because initially your mind is going, this is stupid. And you're like, yeah, because I think it would be nice to reach this goal, whatever. And then after time, you actually come up with really good things. That exercise you did with that team yesterday is really powerful as well. What are we as a team doing to reach this goal? How are we supporting each other? What new initiatives can we have? And the first ones will obviously will be the obvious ones. And then you kind of force yourself to think of 10 more. And that's often where this creativity kicks in, because you kind of digging deeper and you're really trying to come up with more kind of creative answers. I remember someone saying to me, ideas are like a well, right? So initially when you kind of get water out of a well, the water's a bit brackish and a little bit brown and murky. And then after time, the clear water comes out, right? And that is often with our thinking and ideas and creativity. And that's why it's important to create space to do this, because if you're in between emails and WhatsApps and your phone, you're not going to come up with earth-shattering ideas, right? It's creating the space and then going, when I think I have all the ideas, I'm going to go for 5 more and then see what comes up, right? Sometimes these things seem like really crazy and big, but I think it's when you do, go through the brackish water and you're looking for those clear, beautiful, nutritious water, that is when these really beautiful ideas are going to come up. And I mean, ask anyone who's come up with incredible things. They've created the space to think. I mean, Edison was well known for kind of his naps and kind of those moments that he created, because it's when your mind is quiet that it comes up with these incredible ideas.
Yeah, you're making me think of the book Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And I think it was talking about Winston Churchill, that would get most of his ideas by taking a walk. And for me, it's meditation. And that's like what I shared already with my client that now has the habit to really do it every day and meditate. And so going back to, the resolutions and the goals, I think habits are so important, right? And the chunking it down to what's the smallest thing. And I wanted to say something about, yes, when you mention all the ideas, that's a great exercise. I like the fact that you keep on doing and you get more ideas. What I've noticed yesterday in that situation is that Victoria is her name, and she said, I have big ideas, but then I'm thinking it's not possible, so I just decide to go on the small ones. So once we have these ideas, really the root that we need to work on is the root cause of everything is the paradigm. So she didn't feel that she was actually good enough, to do it. And so I actually asked the team and said, can we acknowledge Victoria on what she's doing? And what would be one thing? And she said, you're so creative. You're so amazing. And now everyone's saying, you're amazing. And then that helped her to flip her inner narrative, the way that she sees herself, her own paradigm. And now if you have this big idea and you feel that you're able to do it, it becomes possible. That's why I think some of the goals are failing, especially if you're not changing your paradigm. If you're just having this big idea of whatever the task you want to do this year or the goal, but deep down, you're not thinking it's possible, or worse, you're expecting it's not going to happen, we know where it's going. So going back to really say, okay, maybe I haven't seen it on the outside, but I believe it's possible. There's enough evidence in the marketplace that it's possible. So as a team, who do we need to become? And I'll just share this stats, and I know you love it. It's the fact of saying that we don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. So are we as a team seeing ourselves as capable to accomplish this goal? When we shift this thinking into a higher level of consciousness, now all of a sudden the ideas actually will come up even better. Like that's the 10x versus 2x is an easy concept, right? So going back to the focus, now if we narrow down the fact that we want to go 10x instead of 2, the ideas that we're going to come up with will be very different. And if we believe that it's possible, then all of a sudden, I think goals will stick way more. And so we're almost at the conclusion right now. I don't know if you have some sort of a overarching summary for everyone. I think we know distraction is very destructive.
Yeah. And just before a summary, I was just thinking about how important it is to have accountability partners and have people around you that are supporting you. So, you could be embarking on this the kind of new way of living, right? In terms of focus and making sure that you have a desire of what you want and really being willing to create these new habits to attain those things. And then the next step is, who is walking this journey with you? I think if it was really easy, everyone would be doing it, and they aren't, right? So have people around you, whether that's your manager, whether it's an external coach, where it's your team members, who is helping you and giving you that feedback and helping you along the way. There are moments when these changes happen that it feels uncomfortable and there's new things and you're being challenged because you are kind of creating this whole new identity in a way in which you're living. And who is helping you plant that seed that is serving you every single day? And I think if you can do that with a group of people who are all committed to doing better, that is so powerful. So, kind of key takeaways for me would be clear on your goal. Know why you're doing it. What is a desire? What are you doing it for? There's always has to be a bigger purpose for something. It really, helps you stay committed. Then chunk it down into easy steps, like attainable steps that help you get to the bigger goal. And then have the right people around you to hold you accountable, to support you, and to kind of be along you every step of the way. And people that truly want you to succeed and will celebrate with you along the way.
I love that. I agree with all of them. And I will add that for habits, sometimes we choose too many habits that we want to change. So I would definitely say go to 1 or 2 that will really move the needle. And knowing, like you said, you will be uncomfortable. So knowing that you will be, because you're creating a new habit and the brain doesn't like it. It's like, I'm not on autopilot right now. You're asking me to dispense more effort on this new thing. Why? So knowing that it's going to require you some more effort in the beginning and that it's going to be challenging, keeping that in mind and keeping the purpose in mind, now you know you can do it. You're aware of it. You're aware that it's going to take some effort, and you're aware that it matters because you have a big purpose. And that means that when you hear yourself, oh, I'll do it when I feel like it, you know full well that this is a paradigm talking. This is not you. This is just the old way of thinking, that wants to relax, that wants to do it, then you just have to go back and, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for this reason. That's why it matters. I know it's going to take some effort. I'm going to feel uncomfortable, maybe, and I will fail. And that's good because I'm learning and I'm going to become better. To me, I wish somebody would have told me, Francis, you're going to fail a lot. Actually, I want you to fail. You need to fail. If you don't, that means you're not growing. But I think the paradigm of the school is you gotta have the best grades. Don't fail. Don't go below 60. If you go below 60, failing in your, like, there's a big consequence of failing, but that's not real life example. Like, we were becoming better by failing, by expending more effort. And the key is not to make it too complicated, like just 1 or 2 habits, stay focused, knowing that this distraction is destructive. And, we didn't even talk about the exercise, but there's some exercises that you guys can do, and you'll see fully well that trying to do 2 things at the same time is not working. Not at all. So I think it sums up pretty well the key takeaways for this session. And I truly, truly enjoyed it. I'll show the slides on how you can connect with us because, at the end of the day, we like to serve. We like to serve in your organization or as an individual. Elise, every time talking about questions, I'm not surprised that she said you have to ask yourself great questions. She's so good at asking great questions, and it unlocks you so well because of our paradigm. We have blind spots. We can't see everything, but from a different angle, from a different perspective, she's able to ask so powerful questions that actually even today before this call, she asked me a question that was asking myself if I'm on the right track, if I'm actually going to the goal that I wanted. We have to have people like that. So I want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you, Francis. That's very meaningful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And anyone looking to reach out to Francis, there's a QR code. Please do. He's doing amazing things with what he calls the nightclub, with a group of men who are looking to support each other, build community, and really kind of, make meaningful impact. So I really encourage you to reach out to him. And he's also working with amazing teams, which is fabulous. So that's very exciting.
Yeah. So that was it. That was the first episode of the year. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's such a pleasure to work on goals and also do this episode with you, Elise. So I just want to say thank you. We're very excited to hear about your comments. If there's anything that resonates with you or you don't agree, please give us some comments. That would help us to even tune in and being focused on what you guys love. So thank you for your time, Elise. Excited about 2026.